of lemma 232. So this is that lemma that gives us the statement that multiplication of natural numbers is commutative. Mn equals Nm. We remark that many other results in that section could also be proven by similar methods. Solution define. So first of all, we have been asked to produce an explicit bijection between the Cartesian products A cross B and B cross A. Note that at this stage it's not given that A and B are finite. A and B are any sets, so you just have to show that they are bijective. They have the same cardinality by showing a bijection between them. Okay. Now before we define that, we have to of course take care of the trivial cases. If A is empty or B is empty, then both A cross B and B cross A equal the empty set, and in that case of course there is a bijection because they are not just have the same cardinality, they don't only have the same cardinality but they are in fact equal and they are equal to the empty set. So we don't write anything further in this case. So we now just assume both A comma B are non-empty. Now we are going to define that. Define F from A cross B to B cross A by this very straightforward formula, and one has to prove that this is a well-defined bijection. I am not going to do it, I leave it to you. Prove that F is a well-defined bijection, because we have seen these things many times now. We have some experience with showing how to show that a certain function is a well-defined bijection. So this part I leave, and hence the two sets have equal cardinality. Hence A cross B and B cross A have equal cardinality. Okay. Now next we have to prove that multiplication of natural numbers is commutative using these things, and using this particular part. Now let us start by taking the natural numbers. Now let n and m be two natural numbers. We are now going to define two sets. The first set, A, is the set of those natural numbers that lie between 1 and n, and the second set will be the set of those natural numbers that lie between 1 and m. Okay, then by definition of cardinality in this case, then by the relevant definition, cardinality of A is n and the cardinality of B is m. Our aim is to prove that nm is equal to mn. Now nm is equal to, okay, we can do it in one line. nm is equal to, n is the cardinality of A and m is the cardinality of B. So from proposition 364 part E, this is equal to the cardinality of A cross B. So this is cardinality of A cross B, and this is equal to the cardinality of B cross A. Why? Because we have proved that they have the same cardinality. Again, applying part E of proposition 3614, we get this. So this is equal to m, and in brackets you can write, we have used part E of proposition 3614 here, actually 2 times. So this proves lemma 232. I think it is 232. Yes. And that completes the solution. Yeah, in the next one we are now going to prove the rules of exponent using this sort of arguments. Let A, B, C. Here also, in the first part we will be asked to prove that some sets have the same cardinality, but the sets themselves may be infinite, and then we will have to apply that result in the special case where the sets are finite to conclude some arithmetic fact. Let A, B, C be sets. So these any one of them can be a non-empty set. Infinite set. Show that the sets A to the power B to the power C and A to the power B cross C have equal cardinality. By constructing an explicit bijection between them. An explicit bijection between the two sets. And from that we have to conclude that A to the power B whole to the power C is equal to A to the power BC for natural numbers A, B and C. Use a similar argument to conclude this one also. Okay, so here our first job is to define that bijection. It is in this case the situation is much more complicated that you can understand when you try to interpret this set. Note that the set that we have inside A to the power B is the set of all functions with B as domain and A as range. The outer set, however, the actual entire set is the set of all functions where the domain is C and the range is A to the power B. That means in any function, under any function that is in the entire set, you take any element of C, the functional value of that element will be a function from B into A. This, however, is different. Here we have functions with domain B cross C and range A. We have to prove that these two sets have a one-to-one correspondence between them. And we are going to as usual, first of all assume that A, B and C are non-empty. Are all non-empty. The remaining cases where at least one of them is empty can be easily verified, and one can see that in such a case the sets which will take some special form, they have bijections between them. So we don't bother to investigate that matter anymore. But mind that I have already checked all the all such situations where at least one of the three sets is empty, and it is a fact I have found that in all of those the assertion stays the same, that these two sets have a bijection between them, or in other words they have the same cardinality. Okay, now define a function t whose domain is this set. See how complicated the situation is. We need to find a bijection between these two sets. So we need something here and we have to be able to get something here. As follows. Unlike how we usually define functions, this cannot be done at one go. We have to do it step by step. First of all, we have to take an element in the domain of T, in the supposed domain of T. For any alpha belonging to this, we define G alpha from B cross C to A by this formula is defined to be equal to alpha of C B. Okay. Let us now try to make sense of what we have written. Alpha is in this set. So that means alpha is a function whose domain is C and whose range is a to the power B. Now for such an input here, we need an output here. So that means our output, whatever it is, it should be a function whose domain is B cross C and range is A. Now for this alpha we are defining such a function. Exactly how is this defined? You see, G alpha needs to map elements in B cross C into elements in A. So an arbitrary element of B cross C can be taken like this, where these individual coordinates are coming from respectively B and C, and the definition is this. What is the meaning of this? You see, alpha is an element here. So that means alpha is a mapping whose domain is C, and C is an element of C. So if we apply alpha to C, we will get something. What is that something? That something is here. A to the power B is itself a function from B into A. So if we now apply that function into B, whatever we are getting is an element in A. So at least for this alpha we have got G alpha to be a mapping in from B cross C into A. Okay. So what about the well-definedness of okay, G alpha definitely is well defined because we have chosen B and C. We have already seen that this entire right hand side in this equation, in this formula, is an element in A, and for given B and C, this definitely is unique. So that's why G alpha is a well defined function, and that's why G alpha belongs to A to the power B cross C. Now define, but keep in mind that we were trying to define T. So we are now defining the T image of this alpha to be G alpha. Okay. T is definitely well defined, there is no problem with that. So now we have to see that T is 1 to 1 and 1 to 2. Clearly T is well defined. Next we show T is 1 to 1. Let alpha comma beta be two elements in the domain of T, that means this, such that their T images are equal. We have to prove that alpha and beta themselves are equal elements in this set. This implies, by the definition of our mapping, T alpha is G alpha and T beta is G beta. Now G alpha is what? G alpha is a mapping from B cross C into A. Now what next we are going to do? Fix an element C belonging to C. Then since G alpha and G beta are equal, so for any element B belonging to B, we have G alpha B. Oh, we cannot just take B, we have to take B comma C, is equal to G beta B comma C, because G alpha and G beta are equal. Now what is the definition of G alpha? Say first of all, what is the definition of G beta C? It is beta C applied on B. Just like that, here we have alpha C applied on B. Okay, this part is becoming unintelligible. Alpha C B, this is equal to G alpha B comma C, that is equal to G beta B comma C. Now since this is true for any B belonging to B, so that means as functions alpha C and beta C are equal. Since B belonging to B is arbitrary, we have alpha C equal to beta C. Because alpha C, it's very easy to lose track of what is going on. Alpha C is what? Alpha C is an element in the I have also got confused. What is alpha C? Since alpha is an element here, so alpha C is a mapping here. That means alpha C is a mapping from B into A. Just like that, beta C is also a mapping from B into A. Now if these two mappings have the same images for all same inputs B that varies over B, then definitely as functions they are equal. Okay, now varying C belonging to C. Now we fixed this element C, but it was arbitrary, so for each such C we will get this conclusion. So if we now vary for all C belonging to C. Now both alpha and beta were functions with domain C and range a to the power b, and they agree at all points in C. So as functions they are equal. This again implies alpha is equal to beta. So our assumption that T alpha and T beta are equal has led us to the conclusion that alpha and beta are equal. So that's why T is 1 to 1. So T is 1 to 1 or injective. Next we want to prove that T is surjective. So we have to take an element here and show that it's the T image of something here. Next, let us take anything, say K belonging to a to the power b cross C. We have to now cleverly produce an element here whose T image will turn out to be equal to K. In other words, we have to show that K is equal to G alpha for some alpha, and that thing can be done like this. Fix, again we are fixing C belonging to C, and define, we are now defining a function HC from B into A. So we are defining a function HC from B into A, but the definition of that function has to be in terms of K. That means if I put, yes, HC of B is defined to be equal to K of B comma C. Note that K of B comma C, because this B is coming from B and C is coming from C, although the C now is fixed. So this is defined to be the image of B under HC. Clearly, HC is well defined, and one more thing, this K of B comma C, because K is a function from B comma C into A, this is in A. So HC indeed maps B into A, is well defined, and hence HC is a map from B into A, that means A to the power B. Okay. Now let beta be a map from C into A to the power B defined by beta of C is equal to HC. Then beta is also clearly well defined. Beta is well defined, and hence beta belongs to what? A to the power B to the power c, because it's a map with domain C and range a to the power b. Now, what is t beta? That's what we want to know. What is this t beta? T beta, according to our definition, the way we have defined T beta is this. T beta is G beta, where G beta, we have G beta here. G beta is a mapping from B cross C into A given by this. Beta C D. Okay. Now note that G beta is a mapping from beta cross C into A, and K is also a mapping from beta cross C into A. Our aim is to now show that G beta is equal to K. If we are able to do that, then K will be expressible as a T image of some element. So to prove that G beta equals B cross C, let B comma C belong to B cross C. Oh, we have fixed this element C, no? After fixing this element C here, we have defined HC to be this, that depends on that C. But then if we vary C, then of course we will get this function. So C is not that sort of fixed. It was fixed only for the purpose of defining HC. Okay. Because one should not think here that both B and C are changing. C is already there, B is changing. Fine. So that means we can take an arbitrary element B comma C here. This C is not that fixed C. Then G beta of B comma C is already available. So let us calculate K of B comma C. Then K of B comma C is equal to, by our definition, this is nothing but HC of B. This is nothing but HC of B. And at the same time, whether HC of B is equal to this. Yes, it is, because beta C is nothing but HC. According to our definition, beta C is HC. So this is equal to beta C B, and this is nothing but G beta B comma C. Hence T beta, which is G beta, is equal to K. So an arbitrary element K in this set has been expressed as the T image of an element beta in this set, A to the power B to the power C. Thus T is surjective. We have thus shown that T is a bijection. And hence these two sets have equal cardinality. Okay. Now let A be the set of just like before. Now we have to prove that one of the rules of exponent using these things, using equivalence of these two sets. So small a, small b and small c are given natural numbers, they are given to us. So these are some sets with those natural numbers as their cardinalities. Then what are the possible things we will have to use here? Part F we have to use